Hello and welcome to the first tutorial about getting started with Task Force Elite Editor. So the first thing you have to do is go into a Steam application, you go into Library and then you select Tools. So let me just select this option here and scroll down until I find Task Force Elite Editor. The editor will take quite some time to install. It's about 130 gigabytes and it will take a few hours to download. So once it's installed, the next step is of course to launch it. The first time you'll open the editor, it will take a considerable amount of time, depends on your computer, but even strong rigs will need some time to load the project. Over time, it will become faster and faster. It's important as well that you place the editor in the faster hard drive that you may have in your computer. So once the editor opens, what you see here is a custom version of the Unreal Engine 4. The first step to start your project, now that you see there's only this default landscape here with nothing else, the first step to start a project is to create a mod, or in this case to start your own map. One mod is equivalent to one map. This is our recommendation. In order to start a mod, you go into create UGC and then you assign a name to your map. We'll call it my tutorial. You can place your nickname or name here and the description of the map here for the meta. Then you just create the mod. What this will do is to create a new folder with already some files attached to it that you will require to build your map and assign game modes to your map. Once this process is done here, you'll see that it will add a new folder to the left side on this section here. Let me just scroll down to show where it is. It will appear here. So there's I have already different other maps I'm working on, but this one is the one I just created. So on this my tutorial, you'll find all these files. Make sure that you don't have any filter selected, because if you do have a filter selected, let's say like level, it will hide some of the important files you need to see. So once if you see all these files, the next step will be to rename and to assign the name of the map to the files. So let's say I'm going to rename this here to my tutorial. Please keep in mind that it's important that you use the same naming, including the caps, to the other files as well. So let's say I assigned this name my tutorial. This is the main level. This is where everything that is persistent should go into, including the buildings, the roads, everything in here. These files are additional layers that go on top of the level that will add, for example, where the spawn points will be, where the outposts or checkpoints will be, the and other game mode specific items that you might need to do. For example, in Thinking of the Hill, you'll need to add a zone into the map. In this case, into this sublevel. So the next step will be to rename these sublevels, this part here, to the exact same name that you selected here. So in this case, my tutorial, and the same to the other ones. Now, in terms of this file here, this file is important for several reasons, including this is where you're going to put the map to show on the tactical map in game and other stuff that is required here, but we'll not go into this specific file in this tutorial. So it's important that you just rename this one to my tutorial, which is the name of the map, and then put data with the caps on D on the end. Okay, so now I have all the files I need. I'll open my tutorial file, my level, my persistent level. It will show some basic stuff that we put here for testing. In the next version of the of Eddy, this basic level will be completely stripped out of everything except for the basic stuff that it's required to exist in order for the map to work. For now, I'll just delete everything that is right now visible here. Right, so now that we have everything ready to get started, and before we start changing the landscape, I would like for you to go to World Settings and make sure that all the levels, in this case all the sublevels, are correctly placed. If this is not done correctly, then your map will give an error when trying to load. So this field needs to be replaced by the correct name of the sublevel that you assigned here. So for example, for the DM map will be sub my tutorial underscore DM. For this one will be sub my tutorial underscore TDM DC and CTF. Once this is done, remember, save all. It is also very important that on this field here where it says map data, you select here the one that you have on your mod folder called, which you have renamed before. In my case it's my tutorial data. So this needs to correspond to the data file. It's where the system will know what will be the map name and other information that are fundamental for the level to work. Let me open up and show you quickly how does it look like, this data file. So this data file have a few options that you need to be aware of, such as it states the map file and what will be the initial zoom and minimum zoom of the tactical map. It will show, you can change the name of the map here where it says map name text. You should keep this one as the name of the file, and you can select a loading image that will show when the map is loading on the game. So you can copy into your mod file in mode folder and then go and pick the image which should have at least 2K resolution into this field here. Once this is done, you should compile and then save and close. This will allow the system to know important information, and it's required for the export process of the map. Alright, now we are ready to start building the world. And the first step is to select a landscape. I recommend selecting one of the landscapes available in one of the stock maps. In order to do so, the first step is to delete this landscape from here. Just press delete. Right, so now we don't have a landscape at all. The first step now to set up the landscape, I'll just wait for the navigation to build again, is to go to levels. This should not be here. I should go to levels and go into this drop down here, add existing, and I will go into content here, designers, all levels, ready to export. This is where we can actually find the files for every stock map available in Task Force Elite today. I will want to use for this map the Viper's Nest terrain. So for that, I will locate Viper's Nest folder in this project. This is not the one in, so the Viper's Nest will be here. And I'll select the landscape sublevel, which is this one here. It will add this landscape level to the world of your map that you're currently building. And there you go. It automatically generated the landscape based on the Viper's Nest terrain. Once the landscape is loaded, you should come to levels, right click on top of the landscape sublevel, and then go into change streaming method and click always loaded. This will guarantee that the landscape will always be loaded together with the main level. So in order to add a new game mode to your map, you come to levels, add existing, you go into your mod folder, and let's say I want to add Team Conquer, so I will add the sublevel my tutorial TC Team Conquer, and it will automatically add there. To switch to Team Conquer sublevel and to switch between the sublevels, I just need to come to this drop down here and go into Team Conquer sublevel. So for example, if you can have one spawn point, let's say that this is the red team and this is the blue team, and you can have, for example, in Team King of the Hill mode, this is the spawn point for the blue team and this for the red team. But on Team Conquer, you might want to have this one as the blue team and somewhere in the landscape the red team. So the fact that we work with sublevels allow you full control over where the checkpoints, in the case of Team Conquer or Outposts, in the other game modes will be placed, as well as the starting points for each team. Now let's select an area of the map to start building your map, your city, whatever it may be. Let's say I like to start in this section here. It's flat and looks good. Okay, so let's start in this area here. First, you need to go into your drop down here and select you want to edit persistent level. Make sure that anytime that you are building the map and putting new assets into the map, you need to go into the persistent level. Now we can go into collections, and which are placed here on the left side of the screen, and you go into the buildings collection, for example. Let's say that I want to build a simple map where the team starts here and plays against the other team that starts there. I want to place, for example, this bunker as the starting asset. The only thing I need to do is left click on it, keep it clicked, and drag it to the scene, and you'll automatically generate the asset into your map. I'm going to move this tab into details, which actually helps me by showing everything related to this asset here, and to the world outliner, which shows me all the assets that I'm pulling into the world. Now that we have this asset here, I can do move it, scale it, or rotate it. Let me show you how you can do that. In order to move, you can click here or W on your keyboard, and then these arrows will appear. You can move the asset up or down. You can actually embed it into the landscape by pulling it a little down the landscape. You can pull it forward or backward, right or left. Now let's say that you want to rotate the bunker in order for the door to be moved to the right side of the screen. You can press here or E on your keyboard. Now I can rotate the asset, and now I need to move it back, which is W, or click here to move back to where I want it to be. Now let's say, and this is please be careful when you're scaling up or down objects, because if you scale down, you may not lose much quality, but it may become impossible for the character to interact with the object or to be inside of it. Or if you scale up too much, it will stretch the textures, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's important that you use the scaling up and down as little as possible and only as last resort. So let's say I want to scale, and this will be the hotkey R, and I want to scale it all together, which is on this white box, to keep it uniform. Or if I want to distort it, I can by doing so. If I want to put my scale down to default, I just need to go to scale here and click 1, 1, 1. And this is now back to default. Make sure that your asset is not floating in the air. So it's not. Okay. So now we have a starting point for this team. Let's say that I want to use the same asset on the other side. I can do this by doing two ways. Either I go and pull the same asset from the content navigator again, or I can copy paste this one by Control C, Control V. Now we already generated the second asset, as you can see here, in top of the first one, and just need to move it like so. Now I want to make sure that the door is faced this way, so I will again E or press here and rotate it back. Now I have the two bunkers facing each other. Now let's say that I would like to add some other building in the middle to have the teams fight for something there. So let's say, for example, that I would like to pull hotel. This is a very complex building. And I want it to face this way. Actually, this way. In order to show invisible things in the air, you press G, which will show you hitboxes and other stuff, or collision boxes, or you can press G and hide the helpers again. So now I'm starting to build the map. I can pull ruins on the middle here and create like a maze. And let's say that this is what my map will look like. The basic block out of the map will look like this. Now I would like to, for example, add decorations into the map, and there's lots of decorations to choose from. So your imagination is a limit here. I can pull a few light poles, which I will then put wiring, and a fountain here. Which has dried up. And I want to start putting some foliage, which includes some trees. Let's say, for example, some palm trees here. Now, this is the basic foundation of the map. This is a super simple map, of course, just to show how it works. And when you see compiling shades, it means it's basically generating the asset. This one is a bit greenish, so let me change by, I prefer these ones here. Alright, so now we have basically the map made. Let's say that this is the entire part of the map you want. Let's not forget to save it all. Now the map is completely empty of sound right now, so I want to add some wind noise and basic noise to the map. The way to do it is come to sound effects or sounds, and I like this wind sound, for example, and I drag and drop into the scene. For this, because this is going to be a global sound, it does not matter where you place it. And I don't want attenuation. That means that regardless of wherever place in the map you are, you hear the sound. If it was a different type of sound and I wanted to be local, then I would have to override attenuation and then tell the system where the maximum range will be. For now, for the global sound, I don't want to do that. And this will automatically create the sound for you. Right. So now, okay, so now your sound is placed into the map. Now that the map, let's say that the map is complete from all the persistent assets, and now it's time to start placing the basic stuff to get the map working on a multiplayer environment. In order to do so, I will add Thinking of the Hill to this map. The way I will do it is by changing, because I already on the levels, I already added my tutorial Thinking of the Hill level here, and now I can click on this drop down and select sub my tutorial Thinking of the Hill. Now I want to place one team on one of the bunkers and the other team on the other bunker, so that means I'm going inside the bunker. I'm going to search for player start here. I'm pulling or on the functionals, you can also find it here. Some of the important stuff that for you to put on your map. And I'm going to pull BP player start into the level. I need to tell the system what team this player start will be assigned to. So I need to find the team section here assigned to the clicking on the player start, and then I'll put blue team on this side. You'll see that the arrow will tell you where the player will be facing when spawned. Never put only one spawn in your level. Put many spawns on your level, like so. It's important to keep in mind that if you pull the player start too much into the ground, it will give you this bad size error. Just make sure the capsule of the player is fully visible on above the landscape or the object, like so. I'm going to place 10 of these. I'm going now to select with shift, I select the other ones. Because they're already assigned to the blue team, all of them, I just Control C, Control V, and make a second row of players. Okay, this is enough. Now that I have my blue team, I will do the same for red team. again, look that I'm using my tutorial sub level for Team King of the Hill. Now I'm going to pull the other team here. Okay. Rotate it on the way I want it. Assign it to the red team. And now copy paste 10. Now shift, select them all, Control C, Control V, and now I have a second row of players. Now it's important to add a spawn camera. So go into functional collection and pull your spawn camera here. This will show you what the camera views. So what I will do is rotate it here, like so, pull it over the ceiling and looking a little bit down, like so. So when the player starts, they will see this camera, then we'll go into the player body. I need to do the same on the other side. Before I go, I need to assign this camera to the blue team, sorry, to the red team. So owning team should be red in this side. And I'm going to this side here to place the blue camera. Rotate it, pull it almost over the ceiling and lower it a bit. Okay. Now that I have both cameras and spawns placed, I will place the storage, the armory. I will place one here and assign it to... Now about the armories, you can assign it to a team, or you can make it a neutral armory, which means any team can access it. If you place this one just for blue, the red team will not be able to access it. So I'm going to select blue and move it to the other side and place it here just for the red team. And now I'm going inside the building, main building, and I want to place one more here. And this will be no team, neutral. Okay, so now that I have the storage, spawn cameras and player starts assigned to my level, I can go and think, well, this is a small map, likely not requiring now outposts, but I will nonetheless want to put an outpost somewhere around this area, for example. So I'm going to pull the BP outpost into this section. Okay, pull it up. Keep in mind that the compound outpost is actually the checkpoint, and the outpost, normal outpost, is this one here. Now that I've placed the outpost, I need to assign it to a letter. In this case, I want it to be outpost alpha. So I need to find where the option is here on the right side. It's the ID on the settings tab, and I'm going to say assign to alpha. Now it's important that you don't forget to add player starts to your outpost, otherwise players will not be able to respawn at the outpost. I'm going to place one outpost here, one player start here. Too close to each other, and 3. I need to assign each one of these to an outpost. So owning outpost should be alpha. And that's it. So now before exporting, since this is a Timpani of the Hill map, we need to set up the zone. In order to set up the zone, you come to content, into the content navigator, and you search for BP zone, BP underscore zone, and you pull it into the world. But before you do that, make sure that you have selected the sublevel for Timpani of the Hill. Now I can pull here. Now I would like to make the zone, in this particular case, the size of this room on the ground floor of the casino. So for this, I have a few options under the blueprint. You can use a cylindric zone or different shapes of rectangular zones. Now I want to use, in this particular case, a rectangular zone, since the room has that shape. So I unselect the shapes I don't want to use, and then I place on zone 1, which is rectangular zone 1, as you see here. I'll select, let's start with 140. Now, as you can see here, it has generated an invisible trigger box. This is pretty much the zone here. Just for your reference, the space, this is the limit of the zone, and this is where the trigger starts for edge of zone. So when the player is placed between this box here and that box there, it shows on the player HUD edge of zone. It's still within the zone, it's still counting, but it's warning the player that it's getting near the edge. So let's increase the size here to 500. Okay. And it's still not big enough. So I will bring this to the middle, more or less, so like here. And now I just need to increase on this one, still not big enough. This is where I want to make sure that it's not going outside, which is right now. I'm going to top view here, since it's easier for me to understand where it's placed. You never should use the scale here when using the blueprint of the zone. If you use the scale as you normally do for the assets, this will not work. So now that I have the right width of the room, I just need to increase this number here. And that's fine. Now going to perspective, and it should compass. It's still going a little bit outside. This takes a little bit of patience. Okay, so now I just need to pull it a little forward. Okay, like so. Now that I have set up the zone, we'll move to the next step, which is exporting and packaging the map. I'm going to save it. Actually going to save all. And this pretty much, now that I have sound and I have outposts, player starts, spawn cameras, and everything else to get the map started, I can save and then start the export process. To initiate the export process, you need to come to package UGC, click My Tutorial, Mods. I'm going to place it on a new folder that I've created called Packaged My Tutorial and place it here. It will start packaging the map, and this will take a bit of time to do. Thank you for watching. Any questions, please reach out to us on Discord. Thank you.